site on one tab. So my name is Godspar Chidi. I'm a software engineer. I used to work with a product development company. That was when I came in contact with Primer because there was an application we were building where we needed users to have we wanted to increase the SEO ranking of every user's page individually. And the people who started building the application already, like they used React, and the application was very huge. So switching to server-side rendering was going to be a problem because there were a lot of things that we couldn't optimize for. As a matter of fact, React server-side rendering is not optimal enough. I think even people from the React team would recommend that you use um, tools like Next.js to achieve server-side rendering because it works way better than React SSR. And React server-side rendering is also like a headache. So when we experienced that, we started looking for a way to optimize server-side rendering. Our main issue was basically SEO, not even performance or any other thing. That was how I found out about Remix, and then we decided to try it out. And I think it took us a little over a week to move the entire code base because we had like React running on one end and we had Node.js running on another end. So we moved everything over to Remix. And it really took shape before I left. So that was it with Remix. So today I'm going to be talking about Remix, a bit of everything, and that's because I know that Kent has spoken to you guys. So I really don't know what I would say about different from what the owner of the library has said. So I'm just going to be sharing my experience using Remix so far. So when I started using Remix, apart from the issue I had with the SEO, one major thing that was a problem was web fundamentals. That was one thing I knew I was lacking so much in. When I started my development journey, I did not like PHP at all. I was a very big fan of the front end because I did not want to learn PHP. That was why I focused on the front end basically. But I knew a lot of PHP syntax. I knew what was going on there. So when I found out about Remix and I went into Remix, I figured out that one of the basic things that a lot of libraries have been taking away from us are learning about the web. So until I found out about Remix, I had never submitted a form without adding event.prevent default because we're trying to, customize how our submission would be. We're trying to use a library to post and all of that. So we would stop the browser from functioning and then plug in our own stuff. So when I found out that, okay, I could actually do this and try it out without being scared, I was really excited about it. And in just the short time I've used Remix, I've learned a lot about web technologies that I did not know or use the whole time I was working with JavaScript, Node.js, and all of that. So that's one thing, one of my experiences with Remix. The second thing is performance. I'm sure most of you must have been using Remix before now or now. You would notice that out of the box, it's highly performant. As a matter of fact, I've built different sites with Remix, like small sites that would build with React and then they will be heavy. And then when you run the browser's Lighthouse on it, it gives you at least 8 immediately. And the reason it doesn't give you 100 sometimes is because you've not added the description in your meta object. Once you do that, it always gets to 90, 100 just out of the box. And that's one of the good ways Remix helps you. With React, you need to start doing things like using React Helmet or a lot of libraries to try and make it more performant. and it just kills your progress. So Remix offers all these things out of the box, and that was my second experience with it. So I've known Remix as a combination of powerful tools and concepts put together to make using and building for the web faster. When I spoke to Kent the last time, he said that they were trying to find a very good definition for Remix because it's been hard to actually like define the value proposition of Remix. Um, and this is what I just came up with because I think what they did was they looked at different libraries that were trying to solve different problems, and they were trying to solve all the problems in Remix. So they looked at issues with performance, they looked at issues with server-side rendering, they looked at issues with the web, how the web on its own is even more efficient than trying to use JavaScript to customize it the way you want and all of that. And they tried to build everything themselves. So some of the tools we know that Remix is built on top of React Router. And recently I saw that I think they've released a new React Router version where you can have your action and your loader in your routes. Have you seen that? Have you guys seen it? There's this, let me see if, I'm not sure if it's been released, but there should be a new update with React. Okay, I'm not sure it's been released, but with the latest update, it was Ryan that talked about it. When you're declaring your routes, for example, here, you can call an action in here and call a loader in here. So I don't know why that is not here. Probably would come up soon. It hasn't been published. So what they are trying to do is they're trying to make sure that everyone who is using React Router would be forced to port into Remix. And because React Router has a lot of users, it would increase their users like very much. So that's the plan. So them bringing in Remix syntax into React Router is just to make people who are not very conversant with React Router syntax to start getting comfortable with it. So I'll just go back here. So what are these tools? There are a lot of tools, there are a lot of APIs. I've just talked about React Router says there are like use fetcher and a whole lot of them. But today I'm just going to be talking about use fetcher. So use fetcher is like one of the hooks that Remix provides that helps you optimize your code properly. I don't know, has anyone used use fetcher here? Very well. Okay, nice.
Yeah, only a little bit.
Okay, so one reason I went to use fetcher was because I was really worried about something, and I'll show you what I was worried about. So this is a very simple application. It was actually a Wordle app. Before the Wordle guy sold his app, I wanted to build mine to see if I could sell mine as well. But unfortunately for me, no one wanted to buy. I think everybody built a Wordle app at some point. So this was my issue with Remix, coming from a React background. So I'm going to go into this page. This is just a page that displays notes and submits notes. Now, what is going on here is that I have a form here that submits my note. And then I have a note component here that displays each note with a delete button, right? Now, what is going on here is that when I click this delete button, it goes to the note itself. Where is it? It takes the value of this input. It comes in here because it's a delete action. It deletes the note, which is fine. That works. However, my problem with that was that when I want to do something like log out, so let's say I want to have a button here that when a user clicks this button, the user would log out. The issue I started having with Remix was that I needed to then put a form around it, right? I needed to put a form around it, and then this button would submit this form, and then this form would go in and log the user out. And it was really weird to me because in React, all I had to do was on click log out, and then the user just gets logged out. So why do I have to start putting a form, submitting it to the browser for the browser to run, and you know delete the user for me? So it was really like okay, I was like, should I go ahead and just create a hook that creates a form around a component or a higher order component that I can use to wrap around elements to help me? Like I had a lot of thoughts about it until I found out about use fetcher. So use fetcher does a whole lot of things. If we go to the documentation, uh, if we go to the documentation, you would see like a detailed explanation of how use fetcher works. I'm not going to go into all of that now, but with use fetcher, you have access to different things. So you have access to fetcher.type. Fetcher.type has access to different things. You can know like um, uh, the status of the browser, what is going on. You have fetcher.state. You will know whether the something is submitting, loading, or idle. There's fetcher.submission, fetcher.data, and all of that. I wouldn't go into that. Well, this is like the main one that caught my eye, which is fetcher.submit. So what fetcher.submit does is instead of you to always call your browser and have your browser submit your logout requests or submit your data to register a user or anything like that, I'm sure you already know what navigation stacks are, especially if you probably use single page applications. When you navigate to a new page, there is a new URL on top of your URL stack, right? And then if you go to login, login is below, and then you go to dashboard, dashboard goes on top. So when you click back, it goes back to login, for example. Now, in this case, using the regular form, what happens is when you click on submit or delete from maybe you go to your login page and then you click to go into your dashboard. When you click on delete, it starts up a new slash dashboard on top of your current dashboard. So when you click back, rather than going to the login page, it just goes back to the dashboard again. And then you have to click back a lot of times until the navigation stacks are done going off, and then it goes to login. And that was really a problem for me because if you start considering things like maybe when a user wants to pay with a credit card and then they make payment and go to another page, if they mistakenly click back, it takes them back again to resubmit that form. And then if they do that, they are deducted again, which is a very bad user experience. So with use fetcher, what use fetcher allows you to do is the same pattern you would use with single page applications. You can just have a fetcher.submit, which will take your values and then your method. So this part is for options. You can have your method, your action, and a lot of parameters in here. And then this is just your data that you usually send to an API for submission. So let's see how that works. So right now we have a notes app. So I'm going to say, hello, save this. And I'll say hi to save this. Now, when I do this and I try to delete, right now, this is the form submitting this. So because of the fact that I did not like, how this was looking, I decided to change this from using a form to using the fetcher. So what I can do is I can say submit, just like I would write my normal function. And then I'll say fetcher. So I have to import use fetcher first. So I can say fetcher equals to use fetcher. Fetcher. Okay. So I can say fetcher dot submit. And then, like I said, we have two parameters here for this method. So the first one takes the data. So rather than passing my data from this invisible input, so you can see that with this form, I'm just having unnecessary code being added to my code base. I don't need this input. I don't need this form. So I could just say the notes coming in from here is what I want to submit. So I can just say ID notes.id. That's simple. And then I can say that my method would be post. So what I can do here is I can, for now, I'll just comment this out. I can comment this out, comment this out. I can even comment this out. Take this. So you can see the amount of code I'm able to remove. So I'll just take it that I'm calling this from maybe a file that handles all my mutations or whatever. And then I can say on click. So what this will do basically is just to submit it, but it's not going to like put a new stack on my navigation. So if I say hello, and I come here, says blah 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 blah. Okay, sorry, I'll just confirm that I have the right thing here. Action delete. Okay, ID. Okay, yeah. So that's because I did not define the action field to tell, because I have one action um, running two mutations. So it went through the creates, but it wouldn't be able to go through the delete because I did not define this. So all I have to do is come in here and say action, then say delete. So just saying that I want to delete. So when I do that, when I come back here and I say delete, then that deletes it. So the advantage of this for me, based on my experience, is that I have to write less code. I don't have to use the form element unnecessarily. For me, this is unnecessary using this form element in this situation. So I could just write my normal function, have it post to an endpoint, and then go ahead and do whatever I want to do. So it's that straightforward. So another thing that I want to talk about with use fetcher, for now, I'm just going to put this back here because I need it. If you've used forms to do things like, say, to maybe if you've had like a table for rendering a lot of users, maybe an admin dashboard or whatever, you would notice that there is a wrong thing that happens with forms. You may have experienced it, or you may have been able to use fetcher for this. But let's say you have different elements. So you have is anyone a football fan here? You have Messi, you have Ronaldo, and you have Neymar, right? And then when I try to run through and click the three of them at once, something weird happens where the user doesn't know which they're deleting at every point in time because it's been clicked multiple times. So one advantage that the native form has in this instance is that it can only handle one request at a time. So when I click on these three, this information has already been sent to the server side to process, but the form cannot say I'm processing more than one information right now. So, and this is what I'm processing. So what I'm doing here is just, I'm using the opacity to track what submission is going on, and then I reduce the opacity. I'm using the transition to track, I mean. But I can also use fetcher for this. So use fetcher allows me to track, like when I have multiple things I want to monitor that I'm submitting. It doesn't have to be in the same, it doesn't even have to be in the same page, because with something called use fetchers, even if I have 3 components being rendered here at the same time, I can track all of them. So now, what does fetcher do for me? So what I can do with fetcher is simple. I can switch this to say fetcher.form. So what's going to happen basically is that when I try submitting elements or submitting data to be deleted, use fetcher is able to put all of them together for me, and I can have access to all of them at the same time. So it still gives you that same single page application feel. So I have this, have 4 of these, and then when I say 1, 2, 3, 4, I didn't do that very well. I'm just going to do that again. B, C, D. Now, with the other method, with the native form, when I click on 3, it just highlights the most recent one. But with this, when I click on this, you see, they're all highlighted at the same time. Why this cancel? Just going to do that again, just to be sure. So when I do 1, 2, 3, okay, so I'm just going to try this again just to be sure. I think there's a little issue with the network there. Okay, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Don't think I can get that right, but do you understand like the concept of what I'm trying to explain? So if you want your application to work like a single page application, and you don't want to basically work only with what the server is giving you, you don't want to work with only what the browser is giving you, that is what fetcher helps you do. So fetcher helps you accumulate all of this and then gives you all your state at the same time. So you can know what state is submitting, and then you can use that to give the user whatever information they need. So that's basically how that works. So it's useful for making HTTP requests without navigation, just like I explained. If you go from login to dashboard and you submit repeatedly on the dashboard, when you click on back or the back arrow, or you click back on the browser, it doesn't take you back to um, um, dashboard again. It takes you back to the previous navigation. Allows multiple concurrent submissions, which you just saw now. Useful for updating the UI, especially example with pagination. You have your fetcher.form, loader, and submit. There are a lot of other methods on this which you can use, which are very beneficial, but these are the main things I wanted to share with you. Something else I was going to share is that Remix just released their Remix stacks. I'm going to show you how I deployed this to Vercel and why I used Vercel. But if you've not seen this, I'm sure you probably have, because it was very I think they even sent out newsletters about it. It was popular when it was released. So you can use these for your quick applications if you want to get started immediately. But one issue I ran into with this, which I think you probably run into if you try to use, for example, this indie stack, is there are a lot of platforms that you cannot host SQLite on. So you have to be careful, because when I built the first app I built, this was like, there was no stack then, but this was like the configuration I used with SQLite. And then when I tried to deploy to Vercel, I was told that it wouldn't work because Vercel cannot use SQLite. So I had to switch to Postgres. I'm not sure if that fixed now, if that works, but that was the information they gave me. So have you guys gone through this before now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay, so I'm certain you already know what it does. Have you tried building your own stack?
No, I just tried these three.
Okay, okay. All right. So okay. So I'll just go ahead and show you how I deployed this and why you should deploy to Vercel. So if you go to any of these stacks here, let's say you come in here, you see that there's a fly file here, and that's what they all use. I don't know if it's like a partnership they have with Fly or something, but all their stacks deploy basically to Fly, except I think one that deploys to AWS. I think it's this grunt stack. Um, yeah, I think this is the one that deploys to AWS. But one problem I noticed that most people have, especially on Twitter when they are putting comments, is that they are worried that they always have to put in their credit card when they are trying to use Fly. Have you deployed to production with Remix?
Yeah.
Where did you deploy to?
Fly.
Oh, I see. Okay. Has anyone else deployed to production?
Not to production yet, though.
Okay. So, um, I didn't like the fact that I had to put in my credit card for something that should be like that is said to be free. So I decided to try and use Vercel, and that was when I had the issue I had with the SQLite. And because of that, I decided I would go ahead and find a way around that. So the first thing I did was to go to Heroku and create a database. Heroku allows you to create free databases. Let me see if this will log in. Data. Okay, so this is not the account. I'm just going to sign out. Yeah. So I have this DB. Heroku allows you to create a free DB instance on their platform. So when you create the free DB, you can easily copy the URL. Um, this is taking time. So you can, if you come in here and you come to the settings, you can view the credentials. I'm taking this down. So for the people that watch later, don't try to save a note to DB. So you can create an instance here. And then this is the URL that you will need for your application. So you'd copy this and then come to your env here, and then you can add that here. So that's basically how you would do that. You can also run your Postgres locally during development, but before you push to production, you'd probably need to do this. And then when you do that, you would need to go to GitHub or wherever you've hosted your application. So I'm just going to say mix. So this is where I've pushed what we have to. Now the next thing I'll do is just to go to Vercel. Go to Vercel. Then I'm going to say I want to create a new project. Then I would come in here, adjust GitHub permissions, take me in here, and it would ask me for the repository I want to give access for. I think I'll just, yeah. And then I'll save. It's that simple. And then I know that in this repository, the main branch is where I've put this on. So the next thing I'll just need to do is to come in here, import, click on import. So Vercel already has the remix preset that allows you to deploy using remix. You want to leave all of this like the way they are. The environmental variables, that's where you have to do some work. So you know that locally you usually have like a session secret that you use for login and to do some checks. So you could use this to put in here to say session secret. Then you can just paste that in there. I'll add that. And then the second thing I would need to copy is my database URL. So I'll just copy my database URL and give it the name. And to be honest, I think this is easier than going through with Fly because I think Fly has more configurations than this. For this, I just have to give permission and add my keys or my URLs and I'm fine. And then I add this. And you would see that on the left here, it's already picked main. Sometimes when you want to deploy with a different branch, you would have to go into the settings and set that. But I already pushed to main and that's why I'm able to do that. And then I click on deploy. That's straightforward. So I don't need to do anything else. Add my credit card or do anything. I could just deploy this freely and it would work. So we'll just give it a few more seconds. I think it would run for about a minute. So while that is happening, does anyone have any question they want to ask? If it's about remix or not, I don't mind.
Not that I can come up with right now, at least.
Okay, that's fine. I hope this doesn't fail. I don't want us to go through this again. Warning due to engines. Let me see. Okay. Okay, now it's deploying. Cool. Ta-da! So it's that simple. It's that simple. So I can go in here. I can visit the site. Oh wow, nice, nice. What an embarrassment. So I'll just see the logs. So this is an issue with the DB. I'm just going to come back in here and refresh again. Yeah. So now I have my application running with this. And then if I ever need to like change my domain name, it's very easy. I could come in here and change my domain name and I'm up and running. So Vercel makes it way easier for you to run and for free. So I can come in here and play my Wordle game. Games. Since I deployed this, I've actually never won it. Links. I'm not sure why I can't win my own game. There's no one like that. Wow. So that's basically how it works. I could still go to my notes. I put my notes on this route. See 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it still works. So that's how you no matter how, it doesn't matter how big your application is, you can deploy it on Vercel within few minutes, and it works fine. Just put the app into your GitHub, pull it into Vercel, and then you're up.